Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating text from over a century ago. And what's wild about it is that it treats the concept of human influence not as some vague personality trait, but as a literal, cultivatable science. We are exploring Theron Q. Dumont's 1913 masterwork on personal magnetism. Dumont proposed that this magnetism isn't just some lucky gift you're born with, it's actually a tangible force. And he argues that by combining physical nerve energy with intense mental focus, you can learn to generate, harness, and project it for ultimate influence and even self-defense.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's a century-old mystery, but honestly, it maps perfectly onto our modern, everyday insecurities. I mean, we've all been there, right? You walk into a meeting or social gathering, and someone just effortlessly draws all the attention and respect. Meanwhile, others are struggling to even get a word in edgewise. So is it just confidence? Is it charm? Well, according to the source material, it's something way more mechanical than that. Let's open up Dumont's century-old playbook and see exactly how this works.
Dumont defines personal magnetism as a literal physical force. He says that every single person on Earth has a personal atmosphere. Think of it as a sort of aura of energy that they're constantly projecting. The catch? For most people, this atmosphere is incredibly weak. Or worse, because they don't have a working knowledge of how this force operates, they unintentionally project a negative charge that literally repels people. So, to stop repelling and start attracting, Dumont says we absolutely have to understand the two distinct poles of this energy.
All right, section 1, the physical pole, which is all about generating nerve force.
Now, what's really interesting here is how Dumont says we have to view the body. He describes it as a complex machine that requires a very specific kind of fuel to run efficiently and exert influence. But surprisingly, this fuel, which he calls nerve force, does not actually come from the food we eat. Food creates bodily heat, sure, but true physical magnetism, that's absorbed directly from the atmosphere around us, or what he calls the universal ether. It's this vital energy that our nervous system pulls in and stores in major nerve centers, like the solar plexus. So how exactly are we supposed to absorb it? Dumont breaks down the generation of this physical magnetism into two super practical steps, and they actually mimic nature's own way of recovering from exhaustion. Think about what your body naturally wants to do when you've just finished a highly stressful task or some heavy physical exertion. First, you let out a deep, long sigh, right? And that's usually followed by a slow, rhythmic breath. Then, you instinctively stretch your limbs out. By deliberately practicing this kind of rhythmic, recuperative breathing and intentional stretching, you open up the channels in your body to absorb massive amounts of this nerve force. To picture this, think of your muscles like a literal sponge. When you mindfully stretch and tense those muscles, you are essentially squeezing out the old, stale physical magnetism. Then, as you relax, you're making room for vibrant new nerve force to rush right into your nervous system. It's almost like a lazy but very deliberate stretching routine that completely revitalizes your physical magnetic battery. Moving right along to section 2, the mental pole, or projecting thought waves. If the physical pole is your battery, then the human brain is like a wireless telegraphy transmitter, constantly broadcasting thought waves into the space around you. And the mental attitudes you hold directly color this broadcast and shape your personal atmosphere. If you're harboring negative mindsets, things like fear, sluggishness, or a lack of self-trust, your thought waves are going to broadcast a weak, repellent energy. But if you cultivate positive mindsets, like courage and masterfulness, your atmosphere suddenly becomes incredibly attractive. The true beauty of Dumont's method here is the rule that simply feeding your mind positive ideas naturally starves and kills the negative ones. You don't have to fight the darkness, you just have to turn on the light. Which brings us to section 3, fusing the dual poles. Now this is the critical inflection point of the whole explainer. Mental magnetism without physical force is essentially like a mind without a body. It has character, for sure, but absolutely no real power to move anything. On the flip side, physical magnetism without mental focus is just raw, undirected energy. But when you combine them, the mental pole gives your magnetism its specific color and intent, while the physical pole provides the raw vitality and dynamic force you need to actually impact other people. Dumont uses an absolutely brilliant analogy to explain this. He says you shouldn't try to project physical energy and then separately project mental energy. Instead, imagine them as two delicate silk threads. You twist them together into a single unified strand and push them both simultaneously through the needle of your will. You're using your willpower to fire off this combined force in one single, highly focused action.
Now let's talk about putting this into action in section 4,
the direct flash. Once you fuse those poles, you unlock what Dumont calls the direct flash. It's essentially a concentrated psychic laser beam directed at a specific target. But hold on, before you go trying this on other people, he insists you have to practice. He recommends a preliminary mirror exercise. You literally stand in front of a mirror, look yourself dead in the eyes, and silently project the command, "I am stronger than you." You are practicing sending a magnetic flash to your own reflection to build unshakable belief. Because if you don't believe in your own power, your will hits a roadblock in your own mind before it ever reaches anyone else.
Okay, so once you've mastered the mirror, you can try the exact steps of the direct flash out in public. The classic beginner's test is simply walking behind someone on the street. You form the direct mental command, turn around. You gather your physical nerve force and your mental intent, twist those threads together just like we talked about, and discharge the flash via your will directly at the back of their head. According to Dumont, a successful flash will cause the stranger to fidget, look around, and eventually turn directly toward you, almost as if you had shouted their name out loud.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the positive aura and self-defense.
Now, you obviously don't want to walk around all day firing off psychic laser beams at people. For daily life, Dumont suggests a shotgun approach, a broad, positive aura that you use primarily for psychic self-defense and just navigating the world. To illustrate this, he shares a really fascinating anecdote about a young Parisian artist he mentored. She was super talented and kind, but she was constantly bullied. I mean, people literally shoved her on the sidewalks, and shopkeepers treated her with absolute contempt. Dumont observed her for a bit and realized the problem. She had surrounded herself with an aura of self-deprecation and morbid sensitiveness. Her negative, shrinking atmosphere was practically serving as an open invitation for rude people to step all over her.
So how did she fix it? Not by getting into physical fights, that's for sure. Dumont had her practice the direct flash in the mirror, but this time with an exaggerated royal command. She practiced projecting the thought, "Clear the path for me. I am a princess. Bow to me." Now, when she took this newly supercharged positive aura out to the streets of Paris, the results were instantaneous. Crowds naturally parted for her, bullies gave her a wide berth, and shopkeepers treated her with absolute, immediate respect. Her internal energy entirely dictated how the external world treated her. Which brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with today. Right now, as you sit there watching this, what kind of energy is your personal atmosphere broadcasting? Are you just leaking away your nerve force, or are you mindfully breathing and gathering it? Are your thought waves projecting fear and hesitation, or courage and masterfulness? Dumont's 1913 techniques are a powerful reminder that the energy we bring into a room isn't an accident, it's a choice. So, try twisting those threads together today and see what happens. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.